Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, September 16th, 10:51 a.m. Just wanted to come on here. I have seemed to misplaced my holder for my phone. So I apologize if this is doesn't come out as high quality as it should. But I wanted to jump on here while I had a free moment, which I really don't. But I think this is important. So I've kind of been following the whole Kirk assassination, if you will, and obviously prayers for him and his family. It's a terrible thing. But I do have some comments, some questions. I have a lot of questions, and I'm not going to get into specifics here because I think until we have more facts, which we don't have a lot of, the questions that I have can't really be asked. So out of the facts we do have, though, I have a few major concerns. I don't believe the lone wolf narrative for many reasons. Initially, my biggest concern was that when they showed footage of him allegedly coming off of the roof. Well, first, let's back up. The narrative or the speculation seems to be that he somehow concealed the 30-06, which is a hunting rifle about 40 plus inches or so, somehow concealed that either in his pants or broke it down to go up onto the rooftop. Now, I don't see either of those as being reasonable at all. The only reasonable thing I could come up with was, number one, he had an accomplice. Maybe he was a spotter, or he had a spotter that somehow slipped through the cameras or what the surveillance, whatever the situation is, and got that weapon onto the roof prior to the incident. You know, maybe he stashed it there a couple days before. The whole in the pants thing, not reasonable. There's no way he's putting a 30-06 in his skinny jeans. I don't see it. And I've seen the videos and the pictures of bulges in his pants. I don't care. It's something else. It's not a 30-06, okay? The other one, he broke it down and put it in his backpack. Maybe. I also think this is pretty far-fetched. It's not a breakdown weapon. It's not like an AR that you can break down easily. He could break it down. I guess if he had, the screwdriver, there would have been some tools required to do that. But even with that, I don't think he would have been able to break it down far enough that it would have fit in his backpack. Especially, I'm thinking of the barrel. Okay, so is there a situation where he could have put the stock in his backpack and the barrel down his pants, taped it to the back of his leg or something? Possibly. He would have had to do a whole change of wardrobe, done all this somewhere where he wasn't seen, either prior to coming, the 3 hours, or whatever the situation is. I think it's far-fetched. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's a little far-fetched. Then we have the problem of him coming. Well, there's a lot of problems. I have a problem with the pictures of the sniper's nest, so to speak. To me, it appears, I think he would have, if he was truly lying in wait for Mr. Kirk to take a good shot, which is how it would have had to happen, he would have had to rest that rifle on something, in my opinion. I don't see that man with not ex-military anything. Even if you are ex-military, it would have been hard to lie in a position where you could, just having that rifle propped up. Maybe he rested it on the roof. I don't know. From the sniper's nest, though, pictures that they put out, it looked to me like, it's hard to tell, but it looked to me like there was a rest, like a mobile tripod or a rest of some sort. And the way the other markers were, to me, it looked like it would have been a left-handed prone position. The rifle was a right-handed rifle. Not saying he couldn't have used it, especially because he didn't have to work the action. He didn't have to pull the lever to eject the casing because there was only one shot. So not totally out of the question. Again, it's not really how I would have pictured it to go, but, maybe they had clearer on the ground footage than we were being shown. Next, he comes off the roof, allegedly with the rifle. Now, this is my biggest hang up. I have seen the analysis of it. It does appear he came off the roof with something. I think he had a backpack on his back, and whatever he came off the roof holding, to me, it's too floppy to be a rifle. It could have been a towel, as they're claiming, and maybe just the camera angle and footage was too grainy and just bad quality to see the actual rifle. There's like one instance where I could say maybe, if you slow it down frame by frame, it appears he puts the towel down, possibly, but he doesn't spread it out. So that's the thing. He kind of flops it down on the ledge as he's climbing off the roof, and then it looks like he reaches for something and pulls it back. I can't tell if it's his arm or if it's the rifle. I honestly can't. Maybe, I don't know. To me, it does not look like it was a rifle, though. It doesn't. In any of this, it looks too floppy. Like, even when he hits the ground, if he has this towel or this bundle, we'll call it, because we don't know what it is, right? It's a bundle, it's a towel, it's a bag, it's a jacket, it's something. It looks like it folds in half at one point. I don't see how there was a rifle, a 40-inch rifle in there, but again, you know, camera lenses can play tricks on us, you know, especially when it's bad quality like that. So unlikely, again, I don't view the whole thing as likely whatsoever. And then he apparently leaves this in the woods, even though he had a 3-hour drive to go south. You think he would have dumped it somewhere else unless he wanted it to get found, or that's not it, or he had something happen where he did have an accomplice and the woods was the rally point. Who knows? I don't know. But then it gets even weirder when you look at the actual picture of this alleged rifle. The scope is completely not usable. I'm talking, like, I don't even know if the bolt, like, if the action, the firing apparatus, if you will, of the rifle would have worked with the scope the way it was. Now, did that get hit when he jumped off the roof and it knocked it back like that? I don't know. I don't think so. I would have expected it to see lopsided or something else, not the way it looked so far back. So I have a lot of problems with that. And then the major problem, of course, and I will be willing to reassess if there's a ballistics analysis that comes out linking the projectile, which they don't have at this point, to the casing in the rifle, to the firing pin of that rifle. I will acquiesce and say, okay, fine. However, I still don't buy the whole lone wolf thing, just because there is, you know what, who knows? Discord is saying, allegedly this whole thing was talked about on Discord, the platform, you know, the chat platform. Discord is saying no, there's no record of it. The FBI is saying yes. Is this a setup? What is this? I don't know. The whole thing is very odd to me. There's a lot of questions. I have questions about who this pastor was that's allegedly a U.S. Marshal, or was. His father's allegedly a 27-year veteran of the sheriff's department. That came out as not being accurate. So we don't know. And here's where I want to go with this. There are way too many questions to start developing a narrative of this is what happened, this is who is responsible. Way too many. He hasn't confessed to police, none of that. I mean, the guy just got charged. I don't even know if he's lawyered up yet. I have no idea. But it's way too early in the process to see the level of divisiveness and emotions. And this is what I want to get to. This is the concerning part for me. When I'm looking at, let's start with the governor of Utah. So when I'm looking at the governor of Utah give a press conference on this incident, 90% of his press conference was to manipulate people's emotions. Now, I'm not saying he did that as some evil conspiracy, but maybe. But it was a very emotional press conference. He cries. He says something that I found so disturbing. He says that we should turn off social media because the human psyche isn't made to handle that level of trauma as far as watching this assassination. Now, I think it's terrible. I mean, nobody should watch this assassination for fun or anything like that. But to say the human psyche can't handle violence is a gross misdiagnosis of human history. I mean, listen, humans devoid of God and the Holy Spirit are brutal animals. There's no way around it. We crucified our Savior in public. It was a brutal crucifixion. We fed Christians to lions, okay? They had public carnivals, or whatever you want to call them. They had public, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically a circus, really, where they would feed the Christians to the lions, okay? We burned saints at the stake. My patron saint, Saint Joan of Arc. We have brutalized each other from the beginning, Cain and Abel days, okay? We have been brutal. The flood was brutal. Everything in human history devoid of God is brutal. Like that's the norm. So I'm not sure where this whole we can't handle trauma in the human psyche comes in, other than we have a weird obsession in the West, and I've been saying this for a while, and I believe it's part of a plot to emasculate, I don't think that's the right word, soften the population and put us in this victimhood mindset, put us in this weakened place of being where we say humans can't handle trauma, this isn't normal, here's your safe space, go melt down, so that we don't actually stand up and show any, and I'm not saying stand up and fight, I'm saying show any sort of resilience to anything past the emotional veil, because that's what this is. This is a smoke screen of emotions. That's all I've seen so far. I haven't seen any facts that make sense. I haven't seen really any facts that are even logical. And all we have is this smoke screen of emotion, and the left versus the right. And we have the Vice President of the United States, weirdly, so freaking bizarre to me, going on the Charlie Kirk show and saying that there can be no unity and this, that, and the other thing. Okay. How about you go on there with a ballistics analysis, and then I will be more inclined to listen personally, because I don't live in my emotions. So if they're trying to stir up people's emotions, they're doing a great job. And why would they want to do that? Why does anybody stir up somebody's emotions? It's to manipulate them, mostly. And that's why the church advocates against that so fiercely. The Catholic Church does. The Catholic Church is all about, listen, there's a place for emotions. Emotions should support logic. Emotions should support righteousness. But when you are being led purely on emotions, that's very dangerous. That's a very dangerous place to be in. And so you see it on both sides of the aisle. So you have people are melting down over the fact that the Marxist extremists are celebrating, allegedly, Kirk's death. Okay, yeah, who cares? I'm gonna be real honest about it. Toughen up. Stop being so offended. Who cares? Let them celebrate it. I hope they celebrate I hope the demon-inspired Marxists celebrate my death. What an honor. What an honor. I would not be in the least bit offended. I wouldn't expect my family to be offended, or my friends. But it's this whole manipulation of telling us what we should be outraged at, what we should be angry over, what we should be sad about, what we should not be able to handle. How about stop doing that? Don't tell me how to feel. Don't tell me anything. I want to know, what I want is facts. I want to know how that rifle, I want an explanation for the scope. I want a ballistics test. Where's the projectile? Nobody has it? We haven't found it yet? Where is it? That's what I want to know, okay? And then I'll make my own assumptions or my own conclusions. I'm not an idiot. I don't need you to tell me how to feel. I don't need you to tell me anything other than what you're supposed to be doing, which is the facts of the investigation. And so for somebody who's investigative minded like I am, this is so annoying. Like I've been annoyed for days. I'm just very annoyed is the only way I know how to explain it. And I am concerned and disgusted with my fellow Americans. I hate to put it like that, but I am, for being so easily manipulated. And that's what this is. This is psychological warfare on both sides of the aisle. On both sides, KGB style, whatever you want to call it, manipulation tactics are being used. Subversion, okay? Subversion, divide and conquer. We still don't get it, though. We still can't see it. It doesn't matter how many people scream it from the rooftops. As soon as an incident like this happens and people get emotional, the logic goes out the window. Who would benefit from his death? Now, are there extremists that don't know, or that are cowards and have no coping mechanisms and resort to violence? Yes, there are, and I'm willing to acknowledge that. But we don't have all the facts. Is that it? Who was he manipulated by, if anybody? Did he come up with this on his own? Well, it's coming out that, no, not really. There might have been some other people involved. It's coming out that Charlie Kirk had some donors that he pissed off from a certain ethnic group. Okay, let's talk about that. I have a lot of questions that are not answered. And so before you tell me to be outraged, I need to have answers to my questions. Because I'm not just going to blindly follow what the administration of Operation Warp Speed tells me to. That's why I didn't take the jab in the arm, because I don't blindly follow anyone except Jesus. So, with that being said, I'm annoyed. God help me, I'm trying to not be annoyed. I'm trying to develop patience with my fellow humans, and it's not going well. And once again, it's like I'm in this space where I don't like either side. I don't like anyone. You're all wrong. I'm sorry, but there's nobody speaking sense. Nobody makes sense. We're told in there's this smoke and mirrors of, it's like a magic trick. Like, oh, look at this hand, but this hand's doing something else, and none of it adds up. None of it makes sense. I need to follow the court proceedings very closely to see what comes out. And I don't have much faith in that. And now you hear people pushing for an expedited death penalty. I think that's a terrible idea. Unpopular opinion again. How about we get information from him? I believe in doing that. Now, could we get information from him by threatening his life? Maybe. I don't know. But to push for an expedited one, I don't know about all of that. I'm not sure that's a wise decision. But again, it's this mob mentality of, they whip up the mob on both sides into a frenzy and tell them what to hate. That's all this is. And it just goes on and on and on. And we are going to destroy ourselves. And then the people who are in charge of doing it are going to be laughing their way to the bank or whatever their motive is. And I'm sure it's money. And we're going to be over here killing each other, even though we have more in common probably with each other than we do with them. And it's just the whole thing. I'm just tired of the emotionalism. I'm tired of the veil of emotionalism that manipulates the mind and the heart of the American population and keeps us weak and soft and stupid. I'm tired of it. And if that, I don't know what else to say about it. You know, I've gotten called a lot of things, a globalist. I've gotten called non-patriotic, which is astounding to me. Show me another... Only another combat veteran can call me non-patriotic. Then I'll listen. But until then, not interested. And speaking of that, you have these idiots on social media. They talk so tough behind a keyboard, and all these people, even J.D. Vance, calling for we can't have unity and all this stuff. Yeah, okay, well, have you ever stepped foot in a combat zone? No. So zip it. Zip it. I'm sorry. I have no patience for it. I have no patience for people pushing violence on either side. And this is not how you win this. Okay, so say this, let's believe the official narrative for a second. This Marxist lone wolf takes out a conservative speaker, influencer. I think it's a terrible thing. Number one, whoever did it, it's terrible. Number two, let's say that is the official narrative. The answer is not a civil war. The answer, we have learned nothing apparently from the war on terror for the last 20 years. Evidently, we've learned nothing because we're still making the same mistakes. You don't win an ideological battle with boots on the ground. You just don't. You win it by good intelligence. You win it by cutting off funding. You win it by following the finances. But maybe there's a reason we don't want to follow the finances. I don't know. You win it by looking at foreign influences. Let's talk about Black Cube, okay? Does anybody know who Black Cube is? Let me fill you in. It's a private investigations agency based in another country. I forget which one at the moment. I want to say in Eastern European countries, their headquarters, but they're international. And they are two ex-Mossad agents, Israeli intelligence, that started this. They go all over the world and perform operations with governmental backing and interests that the government can't get away with doing on their own, so they hire private contractors. It's the same thing in war. So they just got called out. I think it was last year. I have to find the article. They just got called out for planning to infiltrate American college campuses to investigate, I guess, is the official narrative, the pro-Palestine protests. Okay, so they got called out for it and evidently halted their plans and said, oh, we were never going to do it, but we were they tried to hire us to do it, whatever. I don't believe any of it. And then this happens. It's like, you have to wake up. You have to stop believing the circus. The circus is designed to manipulate, to entertain through manipulation, okay? Stop with it. He does no place in real life. Magicians are fun to watch, I guess. I'm not a fan. I don't do circuses or magicians, but they're fun to watch. Houdini escaped and all this crap. Great. But like in real life, when like lives are at stake, I don't know, maybe we should not apply that same ideology, okay? Maybe we shouldn't look at it as the circus. Maybe we need to see it for the circus that it is. So I'm annoyed. I'm glad to see that there is a alleged revival in church. I guess this has forced people to go back to church. That's a great thing, as long as it's the Catholic Church, but we'll see. I did hear through Candace Owens, who is allegedly a good friend of Kirk's, that he was praying the rosary. He was talking more about the Blessed Mother. I think these are all great things in the fight on Marxism. And don't get me wrong, atheistic communism is a huge threat, and I'm not minimizing that. We were told that by Our Lady of Fatima. But what I am saying is I believe that there are forces at work that may be using that for their own agenda, okay? And maybe Our Lady was also referring to the governmental tactics of the errors of Russia, which are subversion, psychological warfare, manipulation, blackmailing people through sexual means. The Soviet Union, a lot of people don't know this, they really invented honeypotting. They didn't invent it, but they mastered honeypotting. They mastered sexpionage. The seducers, they would have trained seducers in the ranks of their military that would go in and assassinate and go in and blackmail and go in and get information. Okay, and that still goes on all over the world in every government today. The Epstein files are missing. Okay. So maybe Our Lady was just also referring to the governmental errors of Russia. Just another spin on it. I don't know. Anyway, I gotta actually go to work and stop investigating stuff that doesn't pay me. So I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day.